All right, y'all, today we have Don't Chase, the Power of Attractiveness. Let's get right into the video, man. I think this is going to be a very informative video, especially for my brothers out there that are, still trying to navigate the dating scene, the female gaze and kind of how to attract women. There's a lot of mixed reviews on how to pursue, how to chase women, how to get the girl that you want. And while as a man, in a lot of ways, you do have to make the first move, you do have to essentially start the pursuit of a woman. There's a difference between pursuing and chasing when you can kind of tell that she's not really feeling you, brother. Let's get right into the video and see what it's talking about. Make sure you guys subscribe to my second channel, Berto 2. The link to that will be in the description. Berto 2, Berto 2, Berto 2. Easy to find. I'm trying to get to 26,000 subscribers. Where you at, family? I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Let's get right into the video.
Where you at, Berto?
I made this shit look sweet.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is don't chase. So this is kind of a standard piece of advice when it comes to dating. Every dating coach online puts it forth as an iron rule, irrespective of who they're coaching. The guys helping men are telling the men not to chase, and the ladies helping women are telling the women not to chase. So what's going on? They can't both be right, can they? And if everyone listened to this advice, wouldn't it lead to a kind of stalemate in the sexual marketplace where no one makes the first move? Let's examine this further. Now, I should begin by saying that there is some truth to this advice. Like, the reason why both sides are counseling their clients not to chase is that chasing puts the chaser, whether the chaser is a man or a woman, in a disadvantaged position.
Yeah.
The one being chased is always more
in the position of power,
more powerful than the one doing the chasing. And power has significant advantages in the negotiation process of any relationship. Without exception, the more powerful players get more of what they want and less of what they don't, irrespective of the type of relationship being negotiated. Just consider when you are more likely to get more of what you want in a professional context. Is it when you are sending out cold emails to invite yourself to a job interview? Or is it when you're being actively pursued by a number of different recruiters? It's very difficult to drum up interest where none exists. And even when you succeed in doing so, you will still likely be at a disadvantage relative to what would be on offer were the roles reversed. So why doesn't everyone just sit back and wait to be pursued? Easy. For this strategy to work, you have to be sufficiently attractive to motivate the other party to forego the advantage inherent in being pursued and initiate action. This is why, in sexual relationships, the game of power is actually played out first and foremost in the game of attraction. The more attractive you are, the more you can motivate the other party to chase. And I go into this a lot more deeply in my book in case you're interested. Anyway, this is why people can't just listen to advice like don't chase and expect it to work for them. Every person, man and woman, has to be real honest with the person in the mirror. Women cannot simply sit back and assume an advantage conferred by their sex. Not all women are attractive enough to motivate men to chase. I'll say that again. Not all women are attractive enough to motivate men to chase. And of course, the vast majority of men are not attractive enough to motivate women to chase.
That's a fact. We all know at the end of the day, no disrespect, but the least attractive woman in the room has more options than the least attractive man. Nobody wants to be with the least attractive man, but the least attractive woman, she wants the most attractive man as well. So it's rigged against us, boys. It is what it is, though. You don't bitch up and give up in life. You gotta lock in.
I don't need to say that twice. Everyone already believes that. And if there is any doubt in your mind, that is, if you're unsure whether you're attractive or not, then allow me to remove it. You're not. Attractive people are awash in optionality. They do not need to be told not to chase. They are already being relentlessly pursued. Bitter medicine, but it's always better to strategize from a place of accepting reality than from one of wishful thinking. The bad news is that not everyone is attractive. The good news is that everyone, without exception, can be more attractive than they currently are. Focus on what is in your domain of.
This is a great video. I love everything he's saying. That's why I'm really not saying much. You know, I just want to point that out, that I really am I'm fucking with everything he's saying. So, you know, I'll interject, but this might be one of the ones where we sit back and take notes.
Control. Men, we can't all be over 6 feet tall, but there's nothing we can do about that.
Facts.
Are you taking care of your finances and your fitness and your fashion and your fame and your friendships, etc.? Women, you can't.
And you know, we talk about this. A lot of y'all be wondering, bro, we live in a digital age. I'm not saying everybody needs to be a social media influencer. Not everybody doesn't need to have, you know, fucking 100,000 followers on Instagram. But some of y'all need to accept and understand the reality that Instagram is like a digital resume of who you are and what you got going on in your life. So for my older cats that are probably like, you know, teenager all the way up to adulthood, college, whatever it is, if you in the dating scene and you trying to attract somebody, you need to start looking at your social media as like a resume, bro. And that doesn't mean you be somebody that you're not. It doesn't mean that you fucking, you know, are flexing money or fast cars. Like, no, you want to be yourself. But at the end of the day, the same way you would walk into a job and you want your resume to look nice, it might not be the most impressive resume of what you've done. It's authentic, but you want to present yourself. And a lot of y'all try to spin that into being insecure. Well, no, I don't want to try hard. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to like put on a performance, bro. Then, all right, then accept just kind of being looked at as a loser, bro. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being insecure or being overly performative. It's just about, I feel like confident people care about those things. Confident people care about how they present themselves to the world. You should care. That's the problem. A lot of y'all don't care, or you say you don't care, and then but you're kind of like coping. It's like you say you don't care so that when you don't get the results you want, you have something to point at. Well, I'm just focusing on myself. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. It's like, that's your fucking problem. You should care. Why wouldn't you care what people think about you? Take it off relationships. That's such an important aspect in life. You don't care what people think about you, you're a moron. You know what I'm saying? You walk in the room and people turn their heads and like, oh, like this person, he stinks, or he looks a mess. He looks like he's fucking homeless. You don't care? Yo, you should care, bro.
All be Instagram baddies, but there's not much you can do about that. Are you taking care of your fitness and your fashion and your femininity and your flirting and your fucking? Focus on what is in your domain of control and play to your strengths. Because
100.
Trust me, the more attractive you are, the more likely you are to get more of what you want. And that is a great feeling. If you're interested in taking your understanding to the next level, I would encourage you to see you aboard. Keep in mind, since chasing always puts a player in a more disadvantaged position, we can understand that pursuit is always the necessity of the less powerful player. Pursuit is an aggressive tactic. It's offensive. Consider a game of soccer. A team that is down on points must become more aggressive as the game goes on, if they aren't to resign themselves to losing. The team that is up on points can adopt a more defensive position. It's their game to lose. It's the trailing team's game to win. So we can see that the decision to chase or not is not actually a gendered one. It's not that women inherently don't have to chase, or even more insidiously, shouldn't have to chase. Pursuit becomes the necessity of the side that is down on points. The more attractive does not move to the less attractive, period. And in the context of any given interaction, one party is going to be more attractive than the other. Adopting a don't chase policy when dealing with more attractive and more powerful players isn't going to work. It is what it is. And this is precisely how some women in their 30s basically squander the time they have left. As I discuss in my episode, Women Over 30, the game changes significantly at this point in life. At 30, the average man's sexual marketplace value exceeds the average woman's sexual marketplace value for the very first time, and it never goes back. Women who could potentially get away with adopting a don't chase policy in their 30s or in their 20s are often in for a rude awakening if they maintain this policy in their 30s and beyond. Relative to her intersexual competition, not relative to her own standards, she may not be sufficiently attractive for men, especially those age-appropriate men who are now much more attractive than they once were, to forego their advantaged position in the game and pursue her. So it's really important for people to take general advice from dating coaches with a grain of salt.
And then, I've always told y'all that, you're going to hear things that feels like it resonates with you, and that's perfectly fine. And I honestly challenge you to apply those things to your life. But the moment it doesn't feel natural, well, wait, let me actually rephrase that, because sometimes things don't feel natural, but they're still good for you. So you have to push through. But the moment you can kind of see the patterns, it's like, maybe this doesn't work for me. This is not really my personality. And you do have to really pay attention, because it's a slippery slope. When you're doing something new, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And sometimes you need to get out of your comfort zone. But there's going to be certain things that might work for brother that might not work for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're talking about facial features, some people are probably going to look better with a beard. Some people are going to probably look better barefaced. You know what I mean? These are the things that you kind of can control, but you're going to have to kind of trial and error, for lack of better terms, even though that's kind of a perfect term, honestly.
As good judgment is required to apply the general to the particular in any given case. And acting like the more powerful player when you aren't isn't going to help you get what you want.
And that's just arrogance. And you always got to be real with yourself. And a lot of people like to mix this up. There's nothing wrong with identifying your weaknesses. There is nothing wrong with looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not conventionally attractive in these ways. Okay. That is the first step of true empowerment, because now you identify where you lack so you can focus on where you're strong, and then work on your weaknesses if there's something that you can control. Like, for example, if you're fucking worried about your height, give it up. You're going to be short. You're short. It is what it is. If you're fucking 19, 20, 21, and you're still fucking 5'6", nigga, that's your life. Accept it. Stop focusing on it. But, maybe if you're a little younger, maybe you can be a little bit more optimistic. You might get a growth spurt. Who knows?
Imagine showing up for your first day on the job acting like you owned the place. Like, how well do you think that would be received? Confidence can and does go a long way toward influencing first impressions. However, the confidence is very quickly revealed to be arrogance or delusion if it's not backed up in reality. But let me leave you with one final thought on the matter. Dating coaches who argue that women should never chase are attempting to make their female clients the more powerful players in the mating game. On the surface, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this. However, we might be able to appreciate how this actually sets a lot of women up for failure in the long term. How might this be the case? Well, it turns out that in human relationships of all kinds, there is a legitimate basis of power. And the legitimate basis of power is the assumption of responsibility commensurate with one's privileges. If an individual is endowed with the privilege of calling the shots and getting more of what he or she wants, then on some level, this person also has the responsibility of directing the relationship and of protecting and providing for the less powerful or more vulnerable party. There's no way around this.
Yeah.
Every culture throughout history has justifiably considered those who enjoy privilege irresponsibly to be tyrannical, irrespective of their gender. Yeah. Legitimate power is privilege plus responsibility. And this is something for women to closely consider. Everyone wants the privileges of power, but few are ready to assume the responsibilities naturally associated with the same. In my experience, most women don't want to lead the relationship. They don't want to look after the man, and they certainly don't want to pay for him. Yep. They want to be idolized. They want to receive gifts and tokens and sacrifices and love, but they don't want the obligation of doing anything in return. Any power they enjoy is neither legitimate nor sustainable, and this attitude is giving rise to iconoclasts of all kinds. The upshot is that women have to be careful about adopting strategies to become more powerful in their sexual relationships. Unless they are ready and able to assume the responsibilities associated with these privileges, they might end up losing when they win. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in
W video, man. Y'all let me know if you guys want me to react to more content like this. I think it was a little bit more of a serious tone, but I think it's still relevant to the dating scene. At the end of the day, y'all, when it comes, there's nothing wrong with pursuing women. There's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there, bro. And sometimes you're going to get met with rejection. It's just a part of life. But you have to understand where you are, and that's like really the first step of self-improvement, especially if we're dialing in on the self-improvement part of the dating scene. You have to recognize your strengths, you have to recognize your weaknesses, and you're gonna have to continue to put yourself out there so you can get better at your weaknesses. Okay? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I love y'all so much. My name is Berto. Where you at, family? Y'all already know what it is. Tap into Berto too as well. I need that. I need that support over there. Link in the description.
Where you at, Berto? I made this shit look too easy.